The story is about a girl named Yoon, who abruptly wakes up from a horrific dream. She looks around to find her classmates loudly talking to each other, while her crush June is sleeping. As she stares at him, her close friend Oh Jung interrupts her, asking her to sit next to him if she will continue to stare at him. Meanwhile, Oh Jung is working to develop a certain game. After traveling for hours, they reach the campus. When Yoon and Oh Jung come out together, Yoon seems to recognize the place and asks Oh Jung if they have been here before. But according to Oh Jung, all the school buildings look the same. Then June comes towards Yoon, asking her to move along with him while Somi watches them from afar. She also likes June and is jealous of Yoon. At the entrance, a few students chose to scan the QR code to get the Wi-Fi while Yoon and others ignored it. Everyone on campus is having a good time while Ram films everything. Oh Jung's phone is automatically installed with an odd game application, and she asks Yoon if she wants to install it too, but she declines. Meanwhile, Ram is again filming his crush Ju Young as she notices him. Then suddenly the lights go out, and someone appears in the middle of the place. Everyone gets scared. But don't worry, this time it's just a prank. This guy's name is Yul. He tries to scare everyone by telling how a girl has previously killed herself here, and says how they should never look in the mirror at midnight and not to look down the bed when someone pulls their leg. Later, Yoon notices that the game application has been installed on her phone, even though she told Oh Jung to not to do it, but she says she didn't do it. And they get a notification from the application that the Mafia game has begun and Yoon's role is a citizen. They begin to tell the rules of the game, how there are 4 roles that will be secretly assigned to each student, and they can be either doctors, police officers, citizens, or the Mafia. And only doctors can save a participant from getting executed, while police can know someone's identity. All the participants have 17 hours to ferret out the Mafia through the voting. At midnight, whoever has the most votes will be executed at midnight. After midnight, all the participants apart from the Mafia will go to sleep, and the Mafia participants will get 6 hours to execute the other participants. If the team citizen or the Mafia manage execute the other team, then the game will be over. Citizens, doctors and police officers are one team against the Mafia team. Yul gets excited by the game and starts typing in the chat room. Since most of the students already find him annoying, they begin to vote him as the Mafia. Seeing others voting Yul, Yoon also votes for him, but she gets suspicious of it since they never signed up for it, and they know their names already and the game is working without the internet. They head to the reception area and check what's going on, where they meet with June. They started looking for their class teacher, but they were unable to locate him. And the phone line is dead. Suddenly, all 3 of them received a message in group chat. Somi is asking Yoon to come meet with her at the swimming pool in the next building. On their way there, they run into Choi, who informs them that they are being bullied by Kyung Jun and his friends. June goes with him, where Bum is currently being bullied by them. June tries to take Bum away from them, but Kyung Jun stops him. Fortunately, June's friend Jung arrives to save them, and Kyung departs the area with his friends. Meanwhile, Yoon goes near the swimming pool where she gets birthday surprised by Somi. Yoon and her friends didn't expect that since Somi has never been their friend and hated them. Then Somi pushes her inside the pool. She tries to swim out of it, but someone grabs her by the leg, and she notices a girl below. June arrives and dives in the pool to save Yoon. Later, she wakes up and finds June sitting next to her in his wet clothes. He was just too worried to leave her side. Then Somi and others come inside the room to see her. June asks her to apologize to her, and Somi cries with her alligator tears and apologizes to Yoon. As they come out of the room, they meet with Jung. He is worried as the teachers aren't available and no one is there at the reception area. June suggests they go to their rooms and sleep, and tells everyone to head back to their rooms. All of a sudden, everyone is informed that there is just 1 minute left to vote the Mafia out. As the minute went by, the announcement was made, and Yeo received the most votes. Suddenly, though, something began to happen to him, but since he's already a drama maniac, no one falls for him, and after suffering for a while, he stands up with his eyes all white as if he's possessed by someone. Then he gets down and starts to smash his head on the floor as everyone watches in fear and confusion. Then he stands up and runs through the crowd and jumps off of the building and falls to the ground. Everyone is now shocked at what just happened. Then it gets announced that Yeo was a citizen, not a mafia. And everyone falls to sleep as per the rules. Everyone wakes up in the morning at 6 a.m. Yoon stands up and goes to check up on Yeo and finds him lying down the building. Then it gets announced that at night Choi Tu, who was a mafia, got executed by another mafia member. Ram asks who is making these announcements, and Jung goes to look for them in the announcement room, but finds the room completely empty. Meanwhile, they hear a scream from inside the bathroom, where they find Choi's dead body. They get scared and try to escape the building, but as they head outside, an announcement was made, warning them not to cross the school boundaries, but one of them runs outside the boundary and his friend follows him. Then, for breaking the game rules, both of them get executed and started killing each other. Later, June and Yoon figure out that they are safe and suggest they should head to the mountain and look for some people for help. Some students decide to go alongside June. Yoon sees them off as they head to the mountain, and when she was going back she hears a girl's voice calling her name. Later, she thinks of putting the dead bodies in one place and takes them to a freezer room. At the mountain, Ram captures a person on his camera and they start screaming for help, but he notices that the person isn't moving at all, and the sea gulfs are also frozen in mid-air. Meanwhile, So-mi and Kim Dong are finding the boundary, but Kim Dong slips and falls out of the boundary. June and others come to find him out of the boundary. He gets possessed and kills himself. All of them get back to school and everyone gets to know about Kim Dong. Later, June gathers everyone and requests everyone to give up on voting. In this way, everyone might survive, but they don't trust each other. However, Kyung-jun comes and makes everyone to put their phones in the bucket, and everyone waits until midnight. At past midnight an announcement is made, warning them to vote immediately. Then suddenly, a body drops down followed by another one. Everyone gets scared seeing that, and runs towards to get their phones to vote before they get executed. Kyung-jun finds Jang's phone and throws it away. Meanwhile, June, Yoon and others manage to find their phones and vote for each other so that they will have equal votes. And for breaking the rules, Jang gets executed. He goes up the floor and hangs himself as others watch. Then Baekhyun's name gets announced for getting the most votes. She starts to cry and leaves from there, and all of a sudden everyone falls asleep. In the morning, as they wake up traumatized as to what happened last night, they notice that their friend, Ju Young, has been strangled to death during the night by the mafia. Mina, on the other hand, blames June for suggesting they give up voting, and because of him Ju Young and others have died such horrible death. Saddened by the death of his friend and others, June leaves from there. Everyone starts blaming each other. Yoon interrupts and tells them to find the source of the game and they all will leave the place alive. Then they gather the dead bodies and take them to the freezer. June regrets asking for their phones, but Yoon tells him how it wasn't really his fault since no one thought of such an outcome. After that she tries to look around the place and opens up an air shaft, where suddenly a girl shows up and Yoon gets scared. Hearing her scream, June and others rushes towards her. Elsewhere, Kyung-jun, So-mi and others are having a discussion. After a lot of blaming and accusing in order to figure who the mafia is, Kyung-jun ends up voting for Ram, and Choi also votes for him. After that, Woo-chan and Nam-hyun join hands with Kyung-jun, and Kyung tells them to vote for Ram as the mafia. However, Ram manages to convince his side of people to vote for Kyung-jun instead since he's a threat to everyone here. After that, Yoon goes back to the freezer room and decides to go inside the air shaft. As she's going forward, suddenly she falls down. Then she stands up and keeps moving forward. Then she finds a room with several computers as if someone was keeping a watch over them from there. Then she notices someone outside and goes to check. Meanwhile, Oh Young is going inside the air shaft to look for Yoon. Yoon, on the other hand, enters a room that seems to have no ending to it, and she gets lost. She tries to message her friends but it doesn't work. Meanwhile, Kyung-jun is worried since he's only 2 votes away from being executed in Ram's place. In the meantime, Ram is trying to persuade Jisoo and Yejung to vote for Kyung and save his life, but Jisoo isn't ready since she doesn't trust him or anyone else. Meanwhile, Yoon is disoriented and is unable to find her way out. Suddenly, she notices a door open, so she rushes inside and the door closes by itself. She then begins exploring the place and discovers an old photo album and a group portrait of her school's pupils. Then suddenly a box falls. She checks the wall and finds a secret tunnel. As Kyung is searching for Ram, they come across Mina by herself. He urges her to bring Ram to them, and she leads him to a vacant room where Kyung and others are waiting for him. As he gets inside, Kyung strikes him with a cylinder, and Mina flees from there in fear. They start to torture Ram brutally until he passes out. Whilst, Yoon comes back from the air shaft, and she starts to explain how she fell down into the basement, and when she entered into a room she was suddenly on the second floor, where she was almost got lost but got inside a room where she found a picture of some students from their school but their faces have been erased, and tells them how she saw the ghost of the girl in this picture. Then June arrives there while looking for Ram. Ram on the other hand is being tortured by Kyung-jun. As June and others fail to look for him, they hear his voice on the speakers. Kyung-jun is forcing him to admit being the mafia so that everyone will vote for him. June breaks the door lock and gets inside to find Ram being tied up to a chair. They take him outside. Ram and others get a notification that Ji-soo and Yoo-jung has voted for Ram as the mafia. He falls to the ground and cries, regretting that he should have killed Kyung instead of Joo-young in the beginning. He runs inside and snatches the axe from June's hand to attack Kyung. Kyung runs outside. Ram goes towards him to kill him, but the time runs out and Ram gets executed. Ram turns around and kills himself with the axe. Then it gets announced that he was indeed a mafia. Then suddenly everyone starts to run away before they fall asleep and become a prey to the mafia. The next morning as they wake up, Yoon looks at the mirror and begins to recall the horrifying incident. The announcement gets made that Ji-soo, who was a citizen, got executed last night. Then everyone gets called by Kyung. Since he was right about Ram being the mafia, he wants them to let him decide who should they vote for. And he names June. But Yoon isn't ready to follow his lead. Yoon tells them she has other ways to find out who the mafia is, and tells them she knows about the CCTV room. But they couldn't find anything on the computer since everything was deleted. Then Kyung starts raising questions as to how she got to know about this place and votes for her as the mafia. And others decide to vote for her too. Yoon then asks for some time to prove she's not one of the mafia. Oh-jung tries to restore the footage, but then suddenly the CPU gets blasted. Then one of them notices a girl in the CCTV. Yoon tries to explain to everyone how the ghost is real and there's a connection between the game and her. They begin to look for clues regarding the ghost but could not find any. And as the time went by, June suggests everyone vote for him and Yoon equally so that it'll be a tie and they might end up surviving this. Everyone does as he suggests. But this plan also fails and voting round 2 gets announced, but this time if they fail to vote out one person then everyone will be executed. To save her, June tells them that he is one of the mafia, and asks them to vote for him. The remaining participants end up voting for June and leave from there while Yoon gets dragged away from him. June gets possessed and falls into the pool. Meanwhile, we get to know that So-mi is one of the mafia members as she recalls her memories. In the morning, Yoon wakes up and runs to the swimming pool. She gets him out of the water, and regrets not expressing her feelings to him. Then suddenly a doctor uses their skill to revive June back to life. Elsewhere, Jinha gets caught while he was washing his shirt full of blood, and he flees from the scene. And later finds that Kyung's friend So-bin was executed. He was stabbed with the knife multiple times as if someone really had a grudge against him. Everyone suspects Jinha since they saw him all covered up in blood. Jinha decides to find out the real mafia to prove his innocence, and since only Kyung knew their hiding spot he starts suspecting him. In another scene, Yoon is trying to find out why everyone's faces are erased in all of the pictures. Then suddenly she sees the girl, and as she gets down to look for her, she finds a key on the floor, and then gets a message, asking her to find the host. During this, Jinha has begun to tail Kyung and finds that he is hiding an axe. Meanwhile, Yoon tells her friends about the key and the mission to find the host, and gets to know that she was the only one who received that message. Elsewhere, Jinga is tailing Kyung as Yejun sees them. Jinha gets inside the room and Kyung hits him from behind. Jinha is angry and asks why was he hiding an axe away from everyone, and what is he planning to do with the blood-stained clothes. Kyung tells him how he was also framed just like him. As Yejun watches them, as they notice him listening to their conversation, he tries to run away but gets captured. They take him inside where he falls on a brick and starts bleeding severely. Kyung then decides to kill him since if he gets out alive he'll tell everyone and they might vote for them. Both of them start hitting them with the brick and leave him there to die slowly. And we get to know that he was the doctor who saved June. Through the announcement everyone gets to know that Yejun, who was a doctor, has died. Yoon starts investigating the area and finds a few clues. Later, they hold a meeting where Yoon reveals how Kyung and Jinha are the killers of Yejun, but Kyung isn't ready to accept and starts fighting with them. However, they decide to lock them up in a room and take their phones away till 11 p.m. They hold a group discussion where they come to an agreement to vote for Jinha. Later, Bum alongside, Mina and Somi go to meet with Kyung and threaten him to hand over the cafeteria keys in exchange for his phone, or he might get executed for not voting. Kyung gives them the keys, and Bum leads him to a room. But Kyung suspects phone to be fake and asks him to get it for him, but he refuses. Since the time is running out, Kyung quickly gets inside to get the phone and gets to know it's fake, and Bum locks him inside the room. Meanwhile, Jinhae gets executed and he jumps off the building, while June goes on the rooftop to hide at midnight. Elsewhere, Bum goes to meet with Kyung again. But this time he doesn't look frightened at all. They start to fight, but as midnight gets over, Kyung falls to sleep and we get to know that Bum is also one of the mafia, and it was him who killed his friend Sobin mercilessly since he has bullied him so much. He then begins to stab Kyung multiple times in his sleep. In the morning, it's announced that Kyung, who was a citizen, got executed. Later, Bum tries to manipulate his friends into suspecting Yoon of being the mafia. In another scene, Somi is trying to persuade her friends into suspecting Yoon and vote for her. Meanwhile, Yoon is trying to find the host as instructed by the game. She tries to use the key but couldn't open the lock. Then June and Oh Jung goes to get the tools to break the lock, where June finds Kyung's phone that was handed over to Bum. In the meantime, Yoon opens the lock with the key and finds a group photo in the box and gets to know that it's actually them in the photo. Then she gets a notification which reveals the host's name, Park Son, and everyone gets the message and starts to recall disappeared memories of her. Park Son was their classmate and a close friend of Yoon. As per the police investigation, she committed suicide, but the rumor says she was killed by someone. And since she's making them play this game, her killer has to be one of them. Afterwards, Nahi calls Somi outside and tries to convince her to confess that Park Son died because of them. But she's not ready to, refuses to confess. Later, when they gather together, as everyone started to become suspicious of Somi since she hates Park Son, Somi tries to frame Nahi of being the mafia. Nahi gets angry seeing her close friend decided to go against her. She then reveals her identity as the police and shows everyone that Somi is a mafia. They begin to vote her out as she begs to forgive her. But they don't listen to her. Everybody leaves from there. Later, she kills herself in front of the statue of Park Son. Later in the morning, it's announced that Nahi, who was a police officer, got executed. Afterwards, they gather together to find the mafia. As before dying, Nahi had planned to catch the mafia as she knew he would come for her after knowing she's the police. June had spread a special kind of powder all over the floor that would stick to the killer's shoes and will light up in the dark. June begins to check everyone's shoes and Mina gets caught. But because the powder is only on the sides and not at the bottom, Yoon asks everyone give her some time to investigate and then vote. She starts to investigate the area. Oh Jung looks up to find the blood there and figures out that the mafia got injured. Yoon comes with a plan to lure out the mafia. She makes June tell everyone that he had installed a camera in the bathroom, and will show everyone after it's done. Bum gets scared. He goes to the cafeteria to get the camera. Later, they get to know about Yun-woo having a fresh wound on his chest. In the meantime, Bum gets caught red-handed by Yoon and June. They get confused between Bum and Yun-woo, and they end up voting for him instead of Bum. But Yoon and June still think that Bum is the real mafia. Yun-woo starts to cry because of being wrongfully convicted, and goes to the cafeteria to cry alone. Meanwhile, they plan to hide separately. June goes to meet with Bum in the toilet. He asks Bum to kill him and leave Yoon and others alive. And Yoon also finds out that Oh Jung is also one of the mafia. She cries as she doesn't want to believe it, and decides to stay there with her. Yun-woo kills himself by overeating and choking on it. As June is asleep, Bum tries to smash him with the cylinder, but he gets warned that he must have a discussion with another mafia member before killing anyone. He goes to meet with Oh Jung and suggests to kill everyone all at once instead of one by one. Oh Jung asks him spare Yoon and June for her, and go kill the other two. Bum easily finds Zunchan and Mina and kills them, but he gets suspicious of Oh Jung. He goes to check up on Yoon alongside Oh Jung, and he orders her to uncover the dead bodies. But she refuses, which angers him. He tries to kill her but couldn't since a mafia cannot kill another mafia. Oh Jung then sprays something in his eyes and runs away, locking him inside the freezer. And we get to know she had hid Yoon in a different room. Later in the morning, Yoon wakes up and meets with Oh Jung afterwards and asks her reason to spare her life. But Oh Jung couldn't explain anything since it's a long story. Then June arrives there, who was listening to their conversation and now knows Oh Jung is a mafia. He gets angry at her. However, she leaves from there, and she goes to check up on Bum and finds that he has freed himself, and instantly votes for Bum as the Mafia. Meanwhile, Yoon checks her bag to find a pen drive and a gift. She finds some game files inside that looked exactly like the map of the school. Later, Jun No Jung gets a message from Bum, asking them to come on the rooftop if they want to see Yoon alive. They go on the rooftop and find them there. Bum threatens Oh Jung to jump off the roof. Yoon bites Bum and frees herself. Then Jun and him starts fighting. Bum hits Jun with a stone and goes towards Yoon to stab her with the knife. Then Jun pushes him aside and stabs him with the knife, eliminating Bum. As Yoon is about to die, Oh Jung decides to save her. She stands up and jumps down the building, killing herself, and the game ends. Then she wakes up to find herself in a dark room and sees her school friends sleeping. As she tries to wake up Jun, a man shows up to stop her. And she gets to know that everything she has witnessed and experienced was a game, and get to know that they're punishing them for being the cause of their daughter Park Sone's suicide. Park Sone's parents wanted these kids to experience what their daughter went through, thus they had created such a game for them where they will be trapped in a loophole for eternity. Park Sone's father tries to convince his wife that they have learned their lesson and have suffered enough. They should let them go now. Yoon then finds herself waking up in a bus. Then she sees Jun sitting near the window and smiles at him. But when she looks outside, she observes that the scenery is exactly the same as before, which worries her. She gets up to check, and finds Oh Jung on the bus, and realizes that the game has restarted from the beginning. Thanks for watching till the end. Do check my channel for more episodes and comment down your thoughts.